Okay. So I believe that I'm the person that, because I love to serve people and, do those acts of service, then that's how I love. And that's how I also expect other people to love me. Acts of service, giving me their time, helping me in any way. Um, that's what I have noticed. That's definitely my love language. How about you?
Mine is like quality time. Like I love like doing stuff. Like oh, like let's spend time together. Let's go here. Like I like that type of
So what if someone doesn't give you the time? Do you feel like they don't love you?
I don't know. Like maybe like my mind starts like oh they don't want to spend time with me. Like did I do something wrong? Like I don't know. Like they never want to hang out. Like did I say something? Did I do something? Like it makes me question. Like I don't
Mm.
know. What about you?
If someone doesn't do the acts, like show acts of service, I do the same thing. I'm kind of like why don't you feel in your heart to help me? Like what's going on? Like, don't you see everything that I'm doing? Like it's like unconscious. Like I have that expectation that because that's my love language, and I'm like acts of service here and there. I'm like, why wouldn't they do that for me? Like, don't you see that I would like your help? Like, I don't know. It's so interesting. And I wonder if sometimes because other people might not love me in the way that I expect, I might do something that does not reflect love back. I might have a little bit of, how do you say rencor in English? How do I translate that? That I have something against them. We'll say it like that. Whenever they don't give me what I expect, I'll have something against them, and of course, that's not loving them, right? Because now you're looking at them through eyes of, like, dirty looks. Like, how dare you not do that? Whenever, like, because I expected, even though that might have not been communicated.
Now that you're like saying that, I've actually like it's made me reflect on myself because like I really like quality time. So when people like cancel on like plans with me, I'm like I'm not gonna invite them anymore because look what they did. They just left me hanging and like dang like that's not showing them.
Yeah, and the thing is, um, you're kind of putting a condition there whenever you do that because, and I know like this might be like a little convicting there, but it convicts me too. So, but just follow me along. Like whenever you have this expectation of someone and they don't fulfill it in terms of loving you back, and then you do something like that, like, oh, I'm not going to spend time with them now. Oh, whenever I see them, I'm going to give them a dirty look just so they know that they hurt me. Like all of that does not reflect love. You're putting a condition there. You're just like, if you don't do this, right? This expectation. If you don't fulfill this expectation, then I won't love you anymore. And that's kind of sad. Yeah. Because I feel like even people who are like super loving struggle with this. Like I consider myself a person that's very loving. Like everyone knows that I don't like animals, but I love people. But even I struggle with this. Like I unconsciously have these expectations of people, and if they don't fulfill them, then I stop loving them in some way. Like I don't reflect that, like that patient and that like forgiving love that I should be doing.
Now that like I'm thinking about it, like I've definitely gone into a process where like I've like God, I believe, has like shown me like okay, like now you're not gonna hang out with this person until like I go like off that like okay they left me hanging like now it's like I don't go up to them right away like I'm just like I take some time and then by the time I see that person again like I totally forgot about it and I'm like okay like it's fine like it's whatever like that happened that's in the past but like at first it was really hard.
I'm sure, and like the thing is, I feel like we do this, it sounds bad, but we do it sometimes to prevent commitment with people because building relationships with people is hard, right? And so if they don't fulfill the expectation, then I won't love you. I'm not going to waste my time. But the thing is, all we really had to do was express the expectation, you know? especially people that you really value in your life. If you tell them, hey, this is my love language, I'm sure if they love you, if they value that friendship or that relationship, they're gonna look for ways to love you in that way, so that they can fulfill that expectation, you know. And there's also the thing where I can just modify my expectation. That's hard though, right? If that person's love language is gift giving, then I'm gonna have to modify my expectation. I'm gonna have to say, I can't expect him or her to give me that quality time, or to give me the acts of service all the time, but I can expect gift giving, and I can change my expectation as to what they're gonna give me, and know that that's their way of loving. But that's hard. Changing expectations and communicating them. We don't want to do that. It's hard. It's too vulnerable.
Yeah, it is. I've heard a lot, like when I hear my coworkers, like my close friends talk, like a lot of times I hear that people have the mindset that other people need to deserve your love.
Oh my.
Like,
Yep.
like if they didn't like fulfill like your love language, then it's like they don't deserve it.
Yeah, and this happens. I feel like it happens mostly with strangers as well. And it's really sad because I feel like I fall into this sometimes too. Especially with, I'll give it the example of homeless people. They don't meet my expectations of a decent person, and so we're like, you know, it's immediately that like we treat them as if they're less than human when they're not. They might be in that situation, but we don't know why. We usually don't know anything, and we might be in the car, you know, at the red light, and we see them passing along, and we already like look them up and down, like, and we already make a conclusion as to like a judgment. We pass judgment on them based on just them walking, you know, and we have that condition in our minds unconsciously, like, because you don't fit my expectation, then you don't deserve my love. You don't deserve my generosity. You don't deserve that I just look at you with grace, you know? And it's hard to talk about things like this because it's definitely convicting.
I think that us as humans were actually like capable of like giving unconditional love.
That's a tough question. And before the show, I asked a bunch of people, I had a couple arguments. But I think that at least as Christians, we are called to love unconditionally. There's, you know, I'm sure you've heard the golden rule, which is treat others as you would like to be treated, and that's it. It doesn't say if they do this or if they do that. If we want to go like more specific with Jesus's commandment, like whenever they ask him, what is the greatest commandment? First he says, like love God above all things, and then he says, love your neighbor as yourself, and that's it. He doesn't say love your neighbor as yourself if they are a decent person, or if they don't ever hurt you, or if, you know, and putting in all of those conditions. He just says, love your neighbor as yourself. And, you know, he loved unconditionally. And isn't he the example that Christians follow? Right? We are followers of Jesus, which means we must try to emulate him in everything we do. So I believe that, like from all of this and from everything I've learned, that even though it is a very difficult task, we are still called to it. And that's going to be lifelong learning, really, because we're going to have to examine our hearts literally every single day with every one of our relationships, because we might have some expectations of people, and because we don't modify those, or because we don't express them, we end up not loving them. And that's not the way that Christians were called to live.
When I was thinking about this topic, like that was the first question that came to my mind. Like, is it actually possible for us to say like, we love unconditionally? And like my conclusion is that as humans, like that's something that we're always gonna pursue. Will we ever get there? I still don't know. Because like I think of God's unconditional love and I'm like, wow, like he loves everyone no matter what. Like even if they follow him, if they don't follow him, like and so it's so beautiful because there's like a Bible verse that it talks about like nothing can separate you from the love of God. It talks about it's in Romans and it talks about not death, life, angels, spirits, like all these things.
Romans 8, right?
Yeah, it was 8:38.
38.
And it was like really impressive because like you think like you know how you look at other people here on earth, but like then you think like how God looks at you and it's like I don't know if I'll ever be able to love someone that way, even though that's like my journey and like what I try to pursue. Like I wake up every morning and I'm like, I need what I have to love. But will it be unconditionally?
Yeah, and it's definitely, at least what I believe, what we are called to do. And just like with everything in life, everything that Jesus was is hard to do. Everything. So it's not just loving unconditionally. Literally everything he was, everything he represented, his way, his definition of justice, his definition of like what it is to walking in peace, how to obey his parents, like just everything he did is just extremely difficult to do, but we still must strive to pursue it because we want to reflect Christ in everything. And you know what I think is the hardest thing to do? Not just when people don't fulfill the expectations that we have. Sometimes we set conditions when they hurt us. Like we have like this unconscious thing like in our head, like if you ever hurt me, then I will no longer love you. And we might not say that out loud, but we might think that. And that has the assumption that people are never going to hurt you, which is a lie. People will hurt you. So if you have that condition, then you can't be in a relationship with absolutely anyone. And that's what some people end up living. They end up putting up walls with everyone because they assume that they were never going to get hurt. And so if someone hurts you, you shouldn't just not love them. Jesus offers the answer. He says forgive. And that is a way to love. You know, it's important to make the point that if someone like really, really hurts you and they don't mutually want to love you and they're going to like physically hurt you or verbally abuse you, then yes, love from a distance. But if you are forgiving, then you're already loving them. It's not as if you're completely going to get them out of your life and not forgive them, because then you're not loving. So I feel like that's the most difficult. Whenever someone hurts you, how do you love them unconditionally?
That's actually really hard. But I think that the answer that you gave, like forgiveness, is like the biggest thing, and I gotta do it with Jesus because it's really hard.
Oh yeah, but even though it's hard, it's definitely freeing. And whenever you do forgive, you end up fulfilling that commandment that Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself, because when you forgive, it's not necessarily for the other person, it's for yourself. You're loving yourself there. You're like, you know what? I am valuable, and I am not going to hold this weight for the rest of my life. I'd rather let it go and walk freely. And like, you are loving yourself whenever you do that. And wow.
That reminded me of something. Like there's like this thing where people say like let go and let God. Like that just reminded me of that when you said that.
Oh yeah, definitely, because it's a way to trust too. Whenever you forgive, that God will have his justice in whatever way. And his justice, like I feel like sometimes people are like, his justice is wrath, you know. Yeah. But his justice is pure, and it's loving, and it's gracious and merciful. So that's what we're actually wishing upon people when we say God's justice. So let's try and do this. Let's try and love unconditionally, even though, yeah, it's definitely hard.